Good evening. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of December 4th, 2024. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, and any other applicable laws. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision. Under each authority, all matters listed may involve a decision and possible vote. Okay, roll call, please.
Autumn Wood.
Sandy Slavin.
Kwame Barty.
Michael Mercier.
Scott Selby.
Joseph Still.
Christine Santos.
I call we have a quorum, and I'm going to open the hearings, but first, Christine, can you please? I promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, and all matters are before me. Thank you. Before we start, I'm going to, Denise Schultz has resigned from the Conservation Commission, and I want to thank her for her time and her energy and her concern. She's added a tremendous amount to this commission, and her thoughtfulness and will be missed. Thank you, Denise. Yes, so, wow. All right, first hearing, please.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 520, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, December 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. On the request for notice of intent for David F. and Paula Cloud, 11 August Road, Simsbury, Connecticut. The applicant proposes to repair a dilapidated stone concrete seawall. Map 50F, Lot 10, 19 Worrell Ave, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have that motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose, abstain. We're 400. And who's here representing the project?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commission members. Dave DeVignan from Schneider, DeVignan, Leone, representing the owners.
Okay, Dave, I'm going to ask you to stand and raise your right hand. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth regarding the project at 19 Worrell Ave.
I do.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, now you're up.
So the property is 19 Worrell Avenue. It contains just slightly under 7,000 square feet of lot area. It has a dwelling which was constructed approximately 1955, according to the assessor's records. The site borders the Wareham River to the south, and there's a seawall that protects the 1955 house from storms, coastal storm events, that is in need of repair. The bottom third of the wall, I'm not sure if you have photographs, but if you visited the site, essentially the upper half of the wall is in excellent shape, but the bottom half is falling apart. It was damaged by last winter's double storm event that occurred 1 week after the other. Our clients approached us during the winter of earlier this year about trying to fix it. So we're here before you with a notice of intent, which proposes to repair the wall. As I said, a majority of the upper half of the wall is in excellent shape, so what's missing is a footing or the lower base of the wall. It's a stone and concrete wall, and the bottom third to one half has completely fallen apart, and there are holes and crevices that I could crawl under and into on the bottom half piece of the wall. So the proposal is to pour a concrete lower footing and then pour a concrete face to the bottom third of the wall, or lower half of the wall, to shore it up and to connect that to the existing wall without removing the existing wall. So for access, we're proposing to come in through the existing driveway off of Worrell. There's a parking area that is shown on the plan, and then across the lawn area to the staircase on the westerly side. The property has 2 access points from the lawn down to the beach. There are 2 sets of staircase. The one on the west is duplicate and unnecessary, so we're going to, and it's also has significant damage at the base of the steps. You can't access the beach from the lower step because the bottom, I'd say 3 feet, has disappeared. We're going to dismantle that staircase, excavate and create a ramp, lay some trap rock down, and then use that to get the excavator down to the beach so that we can trench for the new lower half of the wall. The wall, there's a concrete shelf front piece to the wall that's still hanging in suspended, almost like a cantilevered beam sticking out of the wall. That'll be saw cut, and that debris will be moved, loaded into dump trucks and removed from the site. From there, we'll trench in front of the existing wall and pour a footing as detailed on the plan. Once the footing is poured, then there'll be an upper half wall poured, so it'll be done in 2 pieces as far as pouring the concrete. The construction activity will actually take place in 3 different segments. We can't expose the entire wall all at once. It would be too much, given the tides coming in and going out, so it has to be done at a low tide event within a couple hours of low tide to trench and get the form set, and then pour the lower half or the base, which would be the footing. So we're proposing to do it in 3 pieces, beginning at the very easterly end, working our way to the first staircase. Once that section is done, then the next section will be done from the easterly staircase to the westerly staircase. Once that section is done, then the last piece, which is probably the worst, west of the west staircase, will be done. The westerly staircase will be sealed up. The wall will come right across that. We won't be rebuilding the steps once we demolish the steps for access. The lawn behind the wall will be restored to the same grade with loam and seed on top once the project's done. The existing wall has a stone armor, pretty significant amount of stone armor in front of it, cascading into the beach. We're proposing to actually pull that back once the new footing is set at a proper depth. We're going to still put stone in front of that footing, but we're going to peel back and create more coastal beach by the time we're done with the project. It will require a rubber-tired mini excavator to traverse along the base of the wall in order to get the work done. We do have a DEP file number. There were no comments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Autumn, questions?
Yes, on the seawall repair plan, there's a note on the new seawall that states that the beach will be restored immediately upon removal of concrete forms. Does that mean you're bringing in new sand, or does that mean you're making the beach more stable, flat? Would you be able to speak to that for us, please?
Sure, absolutely. So once we trench a section, it's trenched out, the sand is then put off to the side of, the seaward side of the trench. The footings, once the footings are poured and the wall is set up, the sand will be put back in place so that we restore the grade to where it was before.
Okay, so you're using all the same material that was
That's
there
correct. We won't have to bring anything off-site. There'll actually be excess once we trench in order to put the wall in.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kwame, questions?
No questions right now, thank you.
Michael?
Yes, I was down there today and noticed that the, towards 19, meaning the house number 19, there's a number of rocks that go closer inland. Is that where the property line ends, or does the property line end further towards house number 15?
It's a double lot.
Okay.
So
it's a
so the
double lot?
house resides on basically one lot, and then the vacant lot is it's actually one property, functioning as one property. The property line is where there's a stone wall running perpendicular to the shoreline.
Which I'm trying to
So
find that.
house number 19 is approximately 8 to 10 feet off of the easterly property line.
Okay, so there is no 17 then, correct?
There's no 17, correct. That's the vacant lawn area that we'll be using for access.
Okay, so does the property owner own that vacant lot? Or
Yes.
is that owned by somebody else?
He owns that property.
He owns that
Yes.
lot? Okay, thank you.
There's the westerly property boundary is more or less where the, is it the row of stones you were speaking of that are
Yeah,
perpendicular to,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly.
It's sort of
The
like a
stones that are
jetty.
like perpendicular
Yes,
between, say, the beach and Morrill Avenue.
That's correct. It looks like they put a jetty years ago along the property boundary between where 17 would be if there was a cottage and 15.
All right,
But
so,
yes,
okay. So that, again, that potential staging area, that is owned by the property owner then?
yes, it is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Scott?
I had questions also about that lot that would be Building 17, or whatever, that empty lot. So it certainly makes a lot of sense to me to shore up the seawall, repair it, and protect the 1955 dwelling. But there is no dwelling at 17 Worrell Avenue. And I understand where the homeowners would want to shore up that wall as well on that.
It's a single property. There
I
are.
understand that.
Yes.
But that wall would not be required to protect the building at 19 Worrell Avenue, is that correct?
Well, one could contend if you don't fix that part of the wall and that wall collapses, we are going to get erosion right through the property and heading towards the dwelling.
Well, it could, I don't want to argue, just explore a little bit. It could be removed and revegetated to maintain the stability of the bank. Did the property owners consider that?
I wouldn't as an engineer, because you have hardscape on both sides. You're creating a soft spot that will never hold in a storm event.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. I just wanted to explore a little bit some possibilities.
I'm open to any questions.
Okay. And I would contend with one statement. You said that the upper wall is in excellent shape. It seemed to me there were some subsidence cracks and so on.
Some of the well, when I say upper wall, what we have is the bottom, there's a midsection that appears to be concrete, and it does have some cracks.
Yep.
And we intend to seal that up. And above that, there's a masonry wall, which is in really excellent shape, that sits probably the top 3 feet. That's sort of where I was going with that. But
Okay.
there's a midsection that does need some patching with the cracks.
Okay, and I think there's some cracks in the stonework in the upper part as
There
well.
may be since I've been there.
So is that part of the plan then, is to do some tuck pointing of those?
Yes.
Okay.
My understanding is every time we get any kind of storm event, he's now getting more sinkholes. I haven't been there since probably when I met him 8, 9, 10 months ago. And he hasn't told me that the more sinkholes occur and he's getting settlement, so he's really concerned about it.
It seems to me the cracks are propagating up through the upper part as well. So if there's going to be any modification of this, I would suggest that would be added to the plan, that tuck pointing or whatever the term is for stone masonry would be included in that.
Yes, it is written in the notice of intent to any cracks to be
Okay.
repaired.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joseph?
So who is the owner of the beach? Is it an association or is it the,
It is the Hamilton Beach Association.
gotcha, and they will need approval.
I believe Christine, we have an approval from the Hamilton Beach Association for this project?
We already do for the temporary easement.
Yes. It's great.
Question.
It's an excellent question, and one of the holdups between us getting survey work done early this year, and now there were several months spent between our client's lawyer and counsel for the Hamilton Beach Association to work out an agreement. They've granted him access to repair the wall, and there was some dispute, or some members of the association thought that, however, he owns it, everybody owns the wall. That's not what the survey work provides, you know?
So
So
the case with the beach owned by associations.
a lot of the walls are owned by the association. They don't want to own them. So there's an agreement that not only are they allowing him to fix it, and we have a temporary easement beyond the wall to do the work, once we come up with an A&R plan, they're actually going to convey for $1 the land over the property line to beyond the wall, the face
So
of the
they
wall.
will end up owning the walls.
They will end up owning the wall, yes. It's been secured through legal documentation.
Gotcha. My second question, and I might have misheard you on this one, how are you performing the work, through a barge, or are you coming in?
There are 2 sets of staircases. Okay, the one that's on the vacant lot, there's so much damage in that area anyway that we're going to take the staircase out, and we're not going to put it back. And we're going to create a ramp for the excavator to get down.
Gotcha. And now, I mean, this is a lot of concrete. There's no opportunity to pour just through handbags and stuff like that, right? No I mean, I just hate seeing excavators on the beach.
I understand, but the trenching for that the excavator, doing it in sections, it will be a short time frame that the excavator will need to be on the beach. After that, it'll be manpower bringing forms down, setting up forms, and the concrete truck will be set up on the driveway, and they'll pump it into the forms.
Gotcha. How back does that tide come to that wall?
The tide comes pretty close on the west side and then pulls away as you go to the east. But we're fortunate at low tide, if you've been out there at low tide, the water goes out the length of a football field and a half. So we have the tides in our favor when it's low tide.
Gotcha. I don't know if we could put a condition in there where we can, make sure the excavator's on there as least amount of time as possible.
Sure, that's reasonable.
There's a lot of crabs that crawl up, when the tide's coming in. Hate to see those guys get crushed. But no other questions for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We received a letter from Division of Marine Fisheries dated November 18th. You received that too, Dave?
I must have. I would assume I did.
I'm going to, I have a lot of concerns that they brought up, and for your consideration, there will be a time of restriction that no work can be done because of horseshoe crab, but the second point, repair of the structure should be within the same footprint of the existing structure. Any expansion of the footprint into tidal waters of the Commonwealth will result in the loss of shellfish habitat. That's one of their suggestions. Recommendations? Comments. Vertical walls can exacerbate, what's that word? I know, never mind.
Exasperate.
Exasperate, thank you.
Exacerbate.
Erosion to the adjacent shoreline. Mass DMF, Division of Marine Fisheries, recommend that the applicant consider reconstructing the structure within its current footprint, pulling the shoreline protection structure landward where feasible, or replacing the vertical seawall with an extended stone slope revetment to minimize direct and indirect impacts to shellfish habitat. The rocks below mean height water provide habitat and should not be removed or consolidated. And then it goes construction activity, including staging of construction material and equipment, as well as equipment transit to and from the construction site, should avoid intertidal habitat to the greatest extent practicable. As much work as possible should be conducted from the upland portion of the project site to minimize impact and avoid compaction of sediment in mapped shellfish habitat and mapped salt marsh habitat. Those are very interesting points. Any way you would like to comment on what they're,
Well, the bullet point 1, comment, time of the year restriction, that's a given.
Yeah.
We would understand that. Repair the structure within the same footprint, that can only be done if the entire wall was removed and ripped apart, as far as the, the vertical wall. That would, my opinion, cause more harm than good, and double the cost of the actual work to occur. I understand vertical walls can exacerbate erosion. I don't disagree with that, but we have an existing condition here. Most of the shoreline is vertical walls. We're lacking room to do slope walls where the house exists. And, slope riprap wall would probably be 4 times the cost of just repairing the structure. Rocks below the mean high tide, we don't have to consolidate the rocks if you want to condition the project as such. The limits of the rocks will remain the way they are now, as far as where they're located.
now, that wall today, you walk down to the beach, and there is a level area which has been eroded underneath.
Yes.
Could that be removed and your wall be placed there?
Well, it is. It actually is.
But you're talking about trenching.
Right. When you look at the cross-sectional view, anybody could put the plan on the screen?
For the,
We are
for
technically...
the record, 6:20, Paula Jean arrived. Thank you. Sorry. Need to
Well, that's
update the
okay.
person taking the
I'll wait
minutes.
for the cross-section. It's easier to
Yeah.
explain with an image.
Because I don't know how you're going to do this and not move all those rocks out of the way.
Well, they'll have to be temporarily shifted over into a row on the seaward side of the trench.
Because I know you indicated that you would be moving them so you can increase the size of this sand beach. There is a
Well,
lot of rocks.
My thought was to consolidate from the seaward end towards the wall and open up the coastal beach. I didn't look at it from a habitat standpoint, but I understand their point. So I don't have any problem with
And
that.
part of the things that when we have the excavator on the beach area, you could put down wood planks to have the excavator work on those Plysko or whatever you call it, as opposed to digging up in this, moving on the soil itself.
I think the excavator will be crawling along on the rock, not on the beach itself. So putting down timber mats, we'd have to move the rock in order to put the timbers down,
So this will work so close to the stone wall that it will be moving over the stones that are at the beach.
That is correct. We're going to be working within 10 feet of the wall. So
Okay.
if you can zoom into that upper left-hand corner?
Someone back there, can you turn off one of those lights for me? Sure. One, nope. Other way.
Gotta be putting
There,
this,
thank you.
go right to sleep.
So I tried to create a cross-section that resembles what it looks like. And that piece sticking out, the finger-like projection, our new face will be within that footprint. That's where it was, until it got scoured out and underneath and chewed out.
What
So
will you do with the rocks that are underneath that finger right now? Move them out?
we can move them, if you desire, move them towards and enhance the rock habitat area, we can do that. Otherwise, they'll be removed from the site, once we trench.
Okay.
But we're gonna saw cut that
That lip.
lip, and the new wall is going to be placed in the same footprint.
Okay. What's the other picture?
That's what the cross-section would look like,
So that's what we're looking at.
yes.
So you really are keeping it, how much land are you taking that you currently did not have a seawall on? How much of the Hamilton Beach property are you going to extend this seawall?
Well, I guess.
Or you're going to say it really already
It
existed?
already existed.
So I'm not going beyond
That's
what had
correct.
been eroded?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
That's what my claim is, because when our survey shows the limits of that lip, and we're in that footprint.
All right. I know, Paula Jean, do you have anything to add? I know you just,
Yeah, I apologize. No, I had a lot of concerns after reading the
DMF.
department,
Yep.
yeah, after reading that. And I have the
That's what
list here, but I'm
That's
sure.
what we were addressing.
Right, of course, the vertical wall as opposed to a
Sloped
slope,
one, yeah. But to change this one into a slope and everything on both sides of it for other properties are vertical, you really are going to cause, to me, some issues
Yes.
with having different faces to the water coming in. By keeping it vertical, then you match the neighbor's seawalls.
Correct, and we're matching what's been there for
Yep.
decades.
Okay. Chris, anything else? Paula Jean?
No, I think you probably already discussed the shellfish and the horseshoe crabs and the,
Yes.
and I have concerns about all of that.
Yes. Christine, comments, please.
You actually brought up a bunch of my concerns already. There is one thing, we are still waiting to hear back from NHESP. We still don't have that letter in.
Translate,
The Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program.
okay. And we'd like to have that comment before we
Yes.
close the hearing.
Yes, because the entire area that's being repaired is in priority habitat.
Okay. Is there anybody online or in the audience would like to speak to this project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
My name is Tom Donlin.
Up, when you get to the phone, when you get to the mic, please. Okay. No, I'm not going to swear you in.
Okay.
This is just comments, you're not giving us test.
Yeah, my name is Tom Donlin, and I live at 15 Worrell Ave, right next to Dave Cloud and Paula. And I've been watching, that wall deteriorate for the last probably 8, 9 years. And I couldn't agree more to approve this project, because if that wall goes, then my wall goes.
Yes.
And my property goes. So, what Dave is doing, I 100% agree with what he's doing, and he's spending the money to do this. I'm also on the treasurer of the Hamilton Beach Association, and the governors have approved this project
Yes,
to let them go ahead and fix this wall.
okay. Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you, Tom.
Thank you.
Anybody online?
Thanks, Tom.
No one has raised their hand at this time.
So I would like to continue until we have the natural heritage document.
Yes.
Do you have a date for that? Do you think
Should we
it'll
go
be-
on until the 18th is our
It's
next
the
meeting?
18th, the next one.
Let's try until the 18th.
I
And
motion to continue until December 18th.
Second.
Motion to continue until 12:18. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're continued into 12:18, and a vote was now 5-0-0.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave.
See you on the 18th.
See you on the 18th. Okay, the next one, please.
On the request for notice of intent for Deirdre Brownell, 99 Maple Springs Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. The project consists of the installation of a 4-foot by 40-foot aluminum dock with a kayak launch port, lift, and mill pond. Existing vegetation within 3 feet on either side of the dock will be removed to provide access. A 400-square-foot replication area is proposed for replacement. 4 dead or damaged trees will be removed from the existing path for pedestrian safety. Map 126/127, Lot 12/12A, 99 Maple Springs Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion.
Second?
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstains. The hearing is open. And who's here to represent this project?
Madam Chair, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering on behalf of the applicants who are here with me this evening.
Please identify yourselves.
I'm Ann Brownell.
Deirdre Brownell.
I need the three of you to stand and raise your right hand. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth on this project at 99 Maple Spring Road.
I do.
Thank you. Be seated. Okay, Bob, you're on.
So there's a few components to this project, but it's primarily a request for a 40-foot aluminum dock in Mill Pond, kayak dock. There's currently an existing path on this property to the water that's been there for quite some time. These ladies have owned the property, I think, for 3 years? 2 years. And so if you had the benefit, if you were able to go out and do the site visit, you could see the path. It's very wide open. Goes right down to the water, and then there's an existing small clearing in the brush that's on the water's edge. I had put a stake there to mark the location of the beginning of that dock. And so, per the bylaw, we're only allowed 4 foot wide and 40 feet maximum length for an inland pond dock. And so that's what we're proposing. We have an elevation view of the dock. It would be secured. It's basically something that would come in, you'd purchase it and hire a contractor and install it in 8-foot sections, I believe. So there'd be 5 8-foot sections. We have these feet to support it. And with the condition of the bottom at the pond, which I kind of experienced myself by wading out there to get some shots. It's a really soft bottom. There's hummocks. It's heavily vegetated. So we're proposing 1.5-inch diameter galvanized pipes in addition to the feet that are adjustable for height. And we've got the elevation set at about 1 foot above the ordinary high water of the pond, but that's adjustable. In order to safely get in and out of the kayak, we've added what's called a kayak launch port lift, which is, I guess, similar to the boat lifts that we're seeing prevalent now on all the oceanfront docks. But it's just a manual lift. The kayaks, I don't know, maybe weigh 50, 60 pounds. But so anyone can basically kayak onto that lift and get out, and it just provides a firm surface to get in and out of that. So there's a detail at the bottom right-hand corner of the plan, which just shows where there's the rocks that you might have seen at the edge of the pond, the trees, the brush line. And so we're really just trying to get out. The 40-foot maximum works for us because we just need that to get out beyond where that brush line is. We're proposing a 3-foot clearing of that brush on either side of the dock to get the kayak in and out, and just to have, some room above the water. And then we worked with ECR, Brad Holmes, Environmental Conservation Restoration. He had flagged the BVW on the plan. I've highlighted it on this plan in green. So he flagged the BVW for us, and we identified an area in close proximity to the pond where there's, the pines, I think, are just kind of squashing the undergrowth. But so we've proposed a restoration plan of about 400 square feet. I think I estimated 160 square feet of vegetation to be removed on either side of the dock, and so a 400 square foot area is what we're proposing. And then as one of the things we added in is they've got some blowdowns leaning across the path. There's one small tree, two relatively large ones, but, so I flagged them in the field. I tied orange ribbon around them, if you had the chance to go
I
out.
was very pleased to see that the Widowmaker was well marked to be removed.
Yes,
That
correct.
was- Aw.
I didn't stand under it myself, but, so we thought it was appropriate to include the removal of that as part of this notice of intent. And that's probably the first thing that would happen.
Yeah, you wouldn't want people working underneath it going back and forth.
Sure, yeah, and so they've already lined up G-borne knolls to do that work once they have the order of conditions and they have it recorded. We don't yet have a letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries, so this is mapped as a, what is it? It was something that I wasn't aware of, and Christine helped me out with it, but so yeah, I was looking at the notice as it's inland, so it's not a great pond, we don't need a Chapter 91 license, and, you know, that checkoff is for coastal projects only, is it a fish run? Anyway, so I missed it, we covered that base today. I emailed to Division of Marine Fisheries, and I'm sorry, I'm just looking at that map. So a diadronomous fish, river, herring spawning, and nursery habitat. So I received an email back this afternoon. Division of Marine Fisheries felt like they could definitely complete their review and have a letter prior to the meeting on the 18th. I don't expect them to have an issue with it, only because we're so short in terms of the 40 feet just gets us out 10 feet or 12 feet beyond the brush line. And it's a relatively wide stretch. It's really very close to the uppermost portion of the impoundment, the mill pond. So after all your questions, and you know, we will be asking for a continuance to the 18th.
Okay. Would either of you like to comment on what he presented? Add anything, or I want to go kayaking and I don't want to get all muddy before I get in my boat.
No, it's a little more complicated than that. I love to kayak. I'm the big kayaker. And I have quite a bit of spinal stenosis. So we felt that putting a dock out was less disruptive than getting in from the shore, because I have to be able to stand on something stable. Once I'm in the kayak, it's great, but I have to be able to get in that.
Okay. All right, I'm going to Paula Jean.
Well, I think you've covered everything that I had questions about. I was wondering about, I did go there and saw that taped, and I figured the dead tree that was leaning, held up by that was the cluster you were talking about.
Correct.
Removing. Yep. And then I paced off the restoration area, but it was really hard to envision the size that. I think you just answered my question. You said it was 400 square feet of restoration.
Yes,
Okay.
yep, that's what I listed in the notice, and it is an odd-shaped area. I
Yeah.
tried to, you know, it's kind of a crescent moon type of shape, and I
Right.
tried to cover it without putting too many flags or stakes.
That was fine. That's good. That's all. Thank you.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. As Paul G. mentioned earlier, I think you pretty much answered all the potential questions I had. Maybe just the kayak may have to be moved a little bit closer, being that winter's coming, but other than that, meaning closer inland, that's all. Now that winter's coming. But other than that, I'd have no other issues with it. That's all.
Scott.
How far is the cluster of trees from the edge of the water?
Oh, it's quite far away. It's in this portion of the path that has a little curve to it.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's even within our jurisdiction. So I pay
Oh, sure, no, it's absolutely jurisdictional to you, but it's, you know, since it's dead trees or damaged trees, you know, if it weren't for the other aspects of this project, it may not have needed a notice of intent to take care of it, but since, you know, it's...
Well, this commission voted a couple of months ago to not approve removal of dead trees
On one project.
on one project.
Yes. So this is specifically noted as for pedestrian safety, that's the primary reason for them to come out, that, and they're so large and leaning over, I guess.
It's beyond the remit of this commission to determine whether a tree is safe to leave or to remove or not. We don't want to get ourselves in that position.
There is something called a widowmaker. When a tree is partially knocked down and leaning over the walkway, it's called a widowmaker, and it's strongly recommended to be removed because you have no idea where what is holding it up would give way and it would come down.
I agree completely.
So, yes.
I agree completely.
That's
But I'm just saying that we need not, as a commission, be in the business of determining whether a dead tree is safe to leave or not. So if a property owner decides that a tree is unsafe, especially if they've gotten professional advice to that effect, we should allow them to take dead trees out.
Yes.
That's my
And
point.
we have allowed our conservation agent to take that task and not come before us. So Josh has been given the authority to go off and look at tree conditions on sites and not come before us. So he has that authority given to him by us. So he can determine that a tree, if unsafe, can come down and not come before us as a hearing. It was before your time.
Okay.
Yeah, and, in this case, again, with G-Born Knowles and the work they've done, and what you're saying is correct, but so there's always a potential that somebody is going to use a skidder or some type of machinery that the tires, the activity is going to do damage to the underlying wetland. And so it's not the case in this situation because of the path and the firmness of the ground, but it is in that area of the BVW, and so I appreciate.
I am agreeing that the trees should come out.
Yes.
I'm just grinding an axe from a previous meeting, that's all.
Yep.
No other is the dock, is it seasonal or is it permanent?
So we would like to leave it in year-round, so to not have to do the labor and the disruption of pulling it in and out, and so it's aluminum and galvanized. But they, would like to use it on as many good days as possible, and being the aluminum and just small diameter pipes, if there is, 6 inches of ice, if we get a cold winter at some point, it's not going to cause any damage. We don't have a float. The little lift is aluminum as well and above the water, so.
Yeah. The only other comment I have, maybe it's a question, I'm not sure, is the recommendations for docks because of the shading underneath, is that they should be oriented north-south as much as possible. This one's oriented east-west, pretty much. And also that the height of them, the height of the dock, the higher it is, the less shading damage there is underneath. And I understand there's an engineering limit to how high it can be to be stable as well. So those are other considerations that I don't know if you've considered, that the orientation.
Really, with the amount of vegetation that's over there, you're getting so much shading just from the brush that's out in the water and the large pine trees. We're stuck with our orientation, so we're basically just lining it up in the exact direction as the existing opening in order to minimize the taking of vegetation. And I'll tell you that between the murky water and the brush that's there, that area right now isn't seeing a lot of sun, but it's also not a situation like the coastal ones where you're trying to protect eelgrass and things of that nature. So I think it's a little different with the inland dock situation versus the coastal ones. But, I didn't see in the bylaw any requirements for spacing of the
Inland?
for the inland, yeah. And so aluminum, it's going to have some amount of spacing, but I didn't see any
But the
requirement.
positioning of the dock, you really are using the opening that already exists.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's,
So
it's
you're
a,
not
you know,
taking vegetation,
a little
really?
northeast, southwest, but
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Scott?
Thank you.
Joe?
No questions for me.
Christine?
The only thing I was going to ask is if you knew what the spacing was between those slats, since you said it has a little bit.
Excuse me?
For the dock, the aluminum.
There must be options. You know, if you would like us to, you know, just add that to the plan, since we have time, we have a couple weeks, I could do that. I only brought a picture of the launch port lift, which is very open. And but there are a lot of different options for the aluminum. And I can find something and submit it.
Right.
Just for the record that,
Thank
What
you.
is the dimension of that kayak launch port lift?
so.
I'm not
It's in
seeing it.
inches, so the overall width is 73 inches, 6 feet. The overall length is 144 inches, 12 feet. I can,
So this will be in the water? Next to the, or,
well, it has a similar, excuse me, it has a similar support system.
oh, I see, so it gets cranked up and down?
Yeah.
Oh, duh.
Yeah,
So
and with
it's not-
handrails, and so, you
So
know,
it's
just-
up, you get in the boat, someone cranks it down, and off you kayaking?
Yes.
And you just paddle up on it, and, you know, even if you don't have to necessarily crank it up, I mean, we're only
But
12
I'm
inches.
sure you will crank it up in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was my question. Is there any other comment on this project? We're going to continue it, looking for the DMF.
Correct.
John, anybody?
No, at this time.
All right, we're looking at continuing until 12:18.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. We'll continue on the 18th, waiting for some more documentation, and we will return that piece of paper to you.
Okay.
As long as Scott and Joe gets a chance to see it. The next hearing, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
On the request for notice of intent for Russell McKinnon, 4 Grove Street, Westboro, Mass. The applicant is proposing to raise, relocate, and rebuild an existing house at 28 Nelson Street in Wareham, Massachusetts. The proposed work is located within bordering vegetated wetlands and their buffer zone and in this flood zone of the Weebianic River that is off-site to the east. Map 78, Lot 3, 197, 28 Nelson Street, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the
I
hearing.
make a motion to open the hearing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. They have requested a continuance. We received a DMF at 4:53 this afternoon, which means we haven't had a chance to look at it, but they've asked for a continuance. This project was in front of us
Back in the winter.
let's see, we had, the hearing was opened on January 17th, and therefore they withdrew it in April 24. Anything discussed or heard at that project is not to be considered. We're only going to hear the information given to us on this new hearing. So anything that happened previously is not to be considered. It will be a new hearing, but they've asked for a continuance. Anybody online? Okay, so someone take a motion, we'll go for the 18th.
I motion to continue until 12:18.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 12:18, we are continued. The next hearing is 9 15th Street. I don't think we have received any more information on this project, have we?
We have not.
This is the one that wants to put the steps in, but couldn't give us a good design or how the steps are going to be secured to the beach area, so continued until 12:18.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we are continued. The next hearing is
Madam-
date,
Madam Chairman,
yes.
is there some way to notify these folks to let them know that we're waiting for this?
Yes. We've notified them in the hearing.
Well, do we then continue this ad infinitum?
At one particular time, we will say no more.
Okay.
This is the second time it's been continued, so it's, has not hung around for a long time.
Thank you.
The next hearing is 95 Charge Pond Road. Dave Menard, anybody here for that project? This is the bridge, rebuilding the bridge on the Ferring Hill. What were we waiting for? We have the DEP.
It was for hydraulic and hydrologic connection information.
Did it come?
I haven't heard anything from them.
Have you heard anything from Mr. Menard regarding continuance?
No.
Okay,
I motion to continue until 12:18.
I have that motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Can you get a hold of Dave and ask him to give us an update?
Yes.
Thanks. Sorry, Mr. Menard. All right, 200 Great Neck Road. Anybody here for that project?
Good evening.
How's it going?
Names?
Don Bracken, Bracken Engineering.
David Sylvester.
You were sworn in last time, so you don't have to get sworn
I
again.
thought we were going to get sworn in.
I just wanted to make sure the same names. Okay, talk to us. Where are we with this?
Okay, I try to give you a quick recap. We continued the meeting. We didn't have everything staked out. Since then, we've staked everything out. We'll put a lot of information out there, so hopefully it was pretty clear if you were able to get to the site and take a look at it. Again, to recap, David, who owns the property, constructed a driveway made of reprocessed material. It was always a sort of an open driveway, dirt area that was used for the house that has been occupied in some time. And so with that, we filed notice of intent that shows the driveway to be relocated because a portion of it was within the 30-foot no-touch zone. So we relocated the driveway out of the no-touch zone. We've also thought would be proactive and submit a proposed mitigation plan, basically trying to renaturalize that 30-foot buffer in the existing disturbed area. Again, like I said last time, David bought the house back in March. The condition that you see now was the condition that he bought the property in. When we were contacted to help him out with an application, so we also realized that he has to upgrade the septic system at some point, so we decided it would be best to do everything at once. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, the septic system has been approved by the Board of Health. It's less than 100 feet from the wetland, but it was the most feasible upgrade that we could do on the property, given the well situations out there. So hopefully, you see it as an overall improvement. He made a mistake, and he should have filed an application for the work that he did. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a very large improvement over the conditions that were there.
Okay. I will start. Paula Jean, your questions.
Okay, I went there, again, stakes everywhere, thank you.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to miss anything this time.
Yeah, I had a question, you had
Yeah.
a couple of stakes with maples that are to be planted. What size trees are you putting in there? Like, it could be a tiny sapling all the way up?
It's a 2-inch caliper, so.
2-inch,
2-inch,
okay.
yeah.
And there were 2 of them, is that correct?
I think we were proposing 3 of them.
I forget, 3, okay. 2-inch, all right. And then I looked at the 2 big trees, it's very clear which ones are going, the
Yeah.
white pine and the spruce.
Yeah.
I think I had mentioned, we talked a little bit about some of that material that you have on the tarp, that similar material is dumped, you saw where I meant, down in the 30-foot zone?
Yes.
Like a
yeah.
bucket, that's still there, and there's a cinder block down in there, so that is gonna get cleaned out, right?
All that will get cleaned
That
out.
should go first, really.
Yeah, and there are some stumps that they look like they've been there for a long time. They're going to get cleaned out as
Good,
well. Anything that doesn't look natural is
Yeah.
going to be cleaned out.
Okay, great, thank
Right.
you.
Autumn.
I have no questions, thank you.
Kwame.
No questions at this time, thanks.
Michael.
No questions, thank you.
Scott.
Me either.
It's not more of a question. I remember last time we were here, we talked about maybe that dumping that occurred back end of the lot, no, Paula Jean had mentioned that. That ever get cleaned up? Did that ever get it situated, or was that not solved yet?
It's not solved yet. It was, everything that's in there for the most part was all existing conditions when we bought the house. And then after we got our notice of intent, we just decided to not touch anything else.
Yeah. So that material on the tarp was there when you arrived?
No, the tarp we used, there was mulch that was brought in to mulch the
Okay,
garden
because it's the
beds,
same, I thought that was the same material it's dumped over into the 30-foot zone. It looks the same, but, okay.
I got nothing. Maybe put the mulch in before it gets all,
Exactly,
frozen
right?
together.
Scott, questions?
No, thank you.
Christine?
I have no questions.
My question, this replanting that you planted, the restoration planting scheme is all within the 30-foot no-touch zone. Is there an issue with having them clean it up, get rid of the invasives and put in a decent planting of blueberry and arborvitae and verbenium and pepperbush? Because we have said nothing in 30, no for
Right.
30 foot, but then again, it's pretty nasty there now, and what he's planning would be a lot better looking than what's there now.
Well, we have allowed restoration,
Restoration within
yeah.
it, okay. But
and I
my,
support that if it's removing invasives and improving the land.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's pretty nasty in that corner.
And that does bring a question to mind. So removing the invasives, that's going to be all handwork, right? No chemicals?
You know, it takes 7 years of cutting to finally kill a bittersweet.
Yep.
Good luck. Good luck.
Without using chemicals. So I believe, do we want to put some type of fence or something to identify the 30-foot no-work zone, or just leave it as where the restoration is going to be?
You mean fence, you mean a sign?
Well, a fence being a wooden fence, split rail fence or something with
rail.
a sign?
Yeah.
Or should we just leave it that the restoration will identify the 30-foot?
I think that will be self-evident, but I mean, the sign seems like it would be ridiculous because you'd be the only person reading the sign. So,
That's what I was thinking. Why have a sign when there's only two houses basically right there? Him
Right.
and- him and
You
a
don't need
neighbor.
a fence either. I think that
Okay.
dictates what
All right.
he's trying to do.
So what I am also looking at is the plan here, and that there will be a fine for $300 for doing work before it was approved. Christine, anything to add?
No. Oh, the one thing, sorry, I was trying to go for the recommendation. I was gonna do the recommendation, sorry.
You can have it now.
Oh, so, yeah, the $300 fine, that'll be paid to the town clerk before the work starts. And then the plants that are approved with the plan are gonna be assessed after 2 growing seasons for survivability, with any of them that have failed to be replanted, and that condition is required to remain in place in perpetuity.
Okay. Anybody online? Do we have anybody left online?
We do have a couple people.
Oh, okay.
No one has raised their hand to speak.
Is one of them Josh?
Yes?
Yes. He will not be joining the meeting. He is
No,
currently
he's
driving.
he's got a person.
Can I,
Yeah,
I'm not allowed to vote because I was not present for the initial hearing.
did you hear it?
No.
No. It's recommended that unless you signed an affidavit saying I've heard the hearing, I would recommend that you abstain
Understood.
in case there's question.
I have a question about perpetuity. Is that the right word to use?
Well, till any of us are still around, and it would be one of those things, if an order of condition is signed, that the project is done.
Because perpetuity means essentially until the sun burns out.
forever.
All right, then we'll change the word, that we're saying we want 2 years, it will be checked in 2 years, anything that's died will be replaced.
Okay.
Help, Chuck.
And then those will be checked 2 years after they've been replaced. I mean, it's,
Okay.
we won't use the word, we won't say forever. Don't ask me to say that word right now. My tongue is tied. Okay, so if
For a
that's the-
reasonable period, maybe, or something like that.
Reasonable period.
Because, you know, trees have a lifetime, bushes have a lifetime, I mean,
And none of us will see it.
and none of us will know about it at all.
That's right. So if that is it, I take a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Close the hearing?
Oh, second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained. The hearing is closed. The recommendation is the $300 fine, the plant's standard order of conditions, and a 2-year review for plant viability,
Survivability.
survivability,
And the removal of the mulch debris in the 30-foot
and
zone. right?
cleanup of debris in the 30-foot.
Okay. So moved.
That be the motion. I
Second.
have a motion. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Abstained.
401. You have it. Don't get any work done until you get your paperwork from Christine, but there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, thanks.
Hey, closed one.
Wow.
You know.
All right.
Did it.
Next on the agenda, we have the extension request at 49 Warren Point Road. Christine, talk to us about this one.
So this one, I would recommend continuing because there is something that was recently signed into effect that could potentially affect this, and I need some more information on it before being able to make any actual recommendation.
This 49 Warren Point Road, is that Anderson? No.
No.
Okay, so we'll just pass over that. Then certification of compliances, take us down that list, please.
So for 9 Glenview Circle, SE 762623, I'd recommend an issuance of the certificate of compliance.
So moved?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, opposed, 500. Done. Next, please.
For 13 East Edgewater Drive, SE 761532, I recommend issuance of a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I opposed, abstain, 500. Please, next one.
278 Barker Road, 762824, recommend issuance of a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I opposed, abstain, 500. Any activity on the continued enforcements?
Haven't heard anything from either of these.
Okay. Any report on Bayview Park?
I believe that there was, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they had wanted to improve some of the concrete walkways around the park as well.
I heard that
Yeah.
at the selectmen's meeting last night, but they'd have to come before us, and we still haven't had the issue of them cutting the tree down that we didn't approve, but I will table that until a little bit later. Anything else on the land use coordinators section?
No.
We have minutes from November 6th, 2024.
Yes.
We got them a while ago, didn't we?
I think
Yes,
so.
Yes. And I think I've sent back comments on it. Anybody else? Someone want to make a motion?
To close the hearing?
No.
To adjourn?
How about
Make a
approve the
motion
minutes?
to accept the minutes.
November 6th, 2024 minutes.
Okay, I approve them. I move that we approve them as written.
Okay, I have that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Under 48 hours, I'm going to take this up, and Christine, if you could make sure on the 18th agenda, put on ratification of the vote we're about to take. With Denise gone, we have a opening as a voting member of the Conservation Commission. Joe has indicated he's willing to step up and hold that position. We need to make a recommendation to the Select Board that we would recommend that Joe be appointed as a full voting member. Any discussion? No discussion?
Very happy that he's going to vote.
I support.
It's been a little bit of a ride here. I started maybe a year ago, so.
Sometimes it takes a while. It takes a while. So with Joe moving up as from an associate to a full-time member, we now have 2 openings as associate to the Conservation Commission, so if anybody's interested, please consider that. But I need a motion to make a recommendation to the Select Board to appoint Joe as a full voting member.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 500. I will write the letter to the Select Board, and Christine, put it on the agenda next meeting to ratify this vote.
All right.
Okay, anything else?
There was one, the last meeting we had for 12 Kennedy, with the driveway being the one thing excluded. We need to ratify that. It was mistakenly put in as -2, -6, when it should have been a -3, -6.
Okay? So,
You have to sign the papers again?
That I don't know.
Because that's gonna have to get all typed
so
out and
out
everything.
of 48 hours, we'll indicate that we support that change, and we'll ratify it at the next meeting. So I need a motion to change this from a -2 to 3, or 3 to 2?
2 to 3.
2 to 3, -2 to 3.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Do I
abstained?
have to abstain if I didn't vote in that? Because I wasn't here at the last
She
meeting.
wasn't here.
It's your, this is just, this
Just
record,
for the ratification. I'm
it will be
voting.
ratified next time, but right now, it's not, you're saying I agreed going it from 2 to 3. You could abstain if
I
you
will
feel
abstain.
comfortable.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 401. And what was the address?
12 Kennedy Street.
2 to 3. And it will be ratified at the next meeting. Anything else? I can't believe it.
It's only a little after
It's
7.
7:07.
The bills.
I
The record.
move to adjourn
Bills.
at 7:06.
I have, I don't know any idea what's happening with the payments?
No, I have no clue.
Oh, no.
I submitted all required information as of this moment.
I think Josh probably knows more about that than I do, but I'm not sure if he's heard anything back yet.
Okay, all right.
I motion to adjourn at 7:07.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you very much. I don't know where...